studies covered fields such as internationalization, regional cooperation in education, joint degree programs, higher education competitiveness, world-class universities, school governance, shadow education, citizenship education, personalized learning, school distributed leadership, and even adult education. In fact, we can say that education has always been a reflection of its societies to the degree that educators argue that what happens outside the schools is more important than what happens inside. So it always reflects all aspects of life, let it be economic, social, or technological ones. Here, as our concern is technology, education always used to be available, used the available technology as a means of instruction. In this way, while AI transforms all aspects of socio-economic life, we can consider it as a critical factor to education and will play a significant role in defining the very nature of future education. The main challenge was always that education used to be late in adopting technology. And for this reason, the launch of artificial intelligence in education has been postponed for many years, while applied sciences, industry, finance, and medicine have undergone deeper digital transformation. The question now is what kind of transformation will happen in the future. We can say that the modern civilization passed through two kinds of economy. The first one is the traditional resource-based economy with its first and second waves of industry. It led to a mass production through huge factories. Schools in this stage was built in the same way. Schools are equal to factories under the hypothesis that one size fits all. The second kind of economy, which is temporary now, is the knowledge-based economy, with the third and fourth industry waves, depending on communication, information, and communication technology, in addition to with the AI. It needs more focus on higher personal and mental skills, such as critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, in addition to cooperation and communication. It assured a different philosophy, which is the individualism that leads to personalization. In fact, personalization is not education at its essence, but it's social and in business world. So, there was a study which was conducted on the world of business and gives such meaningful figures. About 48% of consumers spend more when their experience is personalized. 90% of marketers believe that personalization is the future. About 74% of the consumers get frustrated when content has nothing to do with them. In fact, these figures are rational because it's more human. Man feels very comfortable when the service or the product is tailored fitted for him. Although these figures are in the business world, but education is considered as an industry, so the same figures can be applicable to education. In fact, it is very hard hard and even impossible to achieve personalization in education as a social goods. So it is important now to think about one multi-sized institution. One institution, educational institutions, but they can get multi-sized services, educational services. It's also very hard unless the AI presents a magic solution for this problem. In this way, Gates predicts that AI will transform education in the next 5 to 10 years. It means that we will see a completely different system of education that's called a paradigm. That's different completely from the system used now. It will do so by being able to adapt educational content to each student, learn what motivates or causes loss of interest in each individual. He adds that even as technology improves, learning will still depend on student-teacher relationship. This relationship will not disappear in the future. What is personalized learning? Personalized learning can be seen as an alternative to one-size-fits-all instruction. But many are confused about what is called differentiation and individualization. In fact, the difference between personalization on one hand and differentiation and individualization in another hand, that the first is student simple. His preferences, his interests, his skills, his mental ability, his capabilities are the main important for the program. While the second group, which is differentiation and individualization, is teacher's center, where the teacher tries to modify his way of instruction to each student, and it was very hard in the past, but AI can present a solution for this problem. In fact, personalization can be seen as a companion with two hands. The first one is teacher-centered with learner voice and choice. So the learner is only tries to participate, but the main ruler, the main puller is the teacher. On the other hand, we can see learner. We can see learner driving with a teacher as a partner in learning. The student as an individual is the center of the process. In between the two ends, we can find some kind of a mixture with learning the center and a learner center. The question now, what does AI present for personalized learning? In fact, AI can, with its programs with chatbots or ChatGPT, can present things to personalized learning. ChatGPT can be used to provide personalized learning experience for students by analyzing student data, such as learning style, pace, and preferences. ChatGPT can provide customized learning materials and recommendations to help students learn more effectively. ChatGPT can be used to answer queries in real time. Students can ask questions related to their coursework, assignments, and exams, and ChatGPT can provide answers in a matter of seconds. This can help students get the information they need quickly and easily, without having to wait our students and stakeholders should be critical. We can depend on ChatGPT as a beginning point, not an end in itself. And in routine tasks where it is perfect in such points. The second thing that AI can present is the virtual and augmented reality. In fact, especially in science and math, we have many experiments which cannot be conducted in labs, whether it is dangerous or really to do it. such as atomic interaction, for example. It can be done in lab setup. It can be seen in virtual reality. There is also the intelligent recommendation systems, and we have about 3 or 4 kinds of this recommendations or systems. The first one is collaborative filtering, which depends on the performance of a group of students that gives a reduction that people can perform in such order of order. The second one is content-based recommendation systems, and it is based on content, where every science has its order of citation. So the content imposes itself to present the sequence of information on people. The third one is a hybrid or a mixture of the first and the second, and there is a fourth one, which is called the knowledge-based recommendation system, and it is uses the first three in addition to the interference of human being according to the needs of the individual fields. How can this benefit the stakeholders in education? In fact, researchers will play a very important role. Researchers will play with educators and students when using technology and the AI, and study how effective this interaction can be. Of course, these answer certain questions that can be presented to technologists who researchers can interact with them to develop AI in the same way. There will be certain recommendations for this interaction, and will be taken by the policymakers to get it and study and present recommendation to develop the educational that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Imad, and please stay on so that we can have a discussion per the questions that people are putting in the Q&A. That was a very insightful presentation. Now we have Dr. Fatma Al-Qahtani from the National E-Learning Center. Dr. Fatma.
Thank you so much, Bat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank all the distinguished speakers for sharing their knowledge and valuable insights. Today, inshallah, I'm going to review the efforts of the National E-Learning Centers toward the integration of AI in education. You can see my screen, yeah? So the National E-Learning Center is actively promoting the use of AI in education through its research hub, sandbox environment, and intervention studies. Also, the center is investigating the current situation in Saudi Arabia to identify the pain points and find effective strategies for integrating AI tools and applications in the educational settings, also for fostering innovation and improving learning outcomes. Initially, the center has launched an initiative called Teach with AI, which aims to provide the educational and training entities with clear guidelines for the ethical integration of AI in education, also for ensuring the academic integrity and fostering the responsible use of AI. The initiative entails a range of different plans and efforts, starting from developing frameworks, policies, guidelines, and standards as well. Also developing tools, AI tools, to promote the effective utilization of AI in education. Additionally, the initiative seeks to encourage businesses and entrepreneurs to invest in AI in EdTech and promote further research and innovation and development. Firstly, the first products of the National E-Learning Center was published on December 2023. We have released our national framework for artificial intelligence and digital learning in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which aims to empower the use of AI in education and training. The framework is meant to be as a guideline that provide a strategic roadmap for decision makers that outline the development, the deployment, the management, and even the evaluation of AI in the context of digital learning. It includes a set of guidelines that has protocols, standards, and best practices, all adapted to the unique requirements of the educational sectors. The framework was developed based on various foundations, but mainly the existing online learning framework that's established by the National E-Learning Center. You can find it on our website. The second foundation was the guidance for using AI in education and research, developed by the UNESCO, which assisted us greatly in building our framework to ensure that the framework aligns with the global best practices. The framework aims to help education policymakers, public and private education system administrators, as well as individuals, to enable a successful planning and developing and implementation of AI in digital learning. It is built to work across all forms of learning segments, starting from K-12, higher education, TVET, as well as lifelong learning. As you can see here, the framework covered 9 main dimensions. These dimensions provide a comprehensive guidance for decision makers on how to maximize the use of AI in education. The main dimensions are firstly leadership, curriculum design and content development, teaching and learning, assessment and performance monitoring, ethics and responsible use of AI, technology standards, security and data privacy, student support, professional development, and the last dimension is evaluation and continuous improvement. I'll go through them in a bit of detail on the next slides, but you can check the full version on the link below. You have the PDF file. We welcome any feedback on the framework, as we aim to update it every 6 to 8 months to align with any updates in the field. So firstly, the first dimension is leadership. We have introduced some sub-dimensions, which are AI policy, which is about a set of guidelines and that outlines the entity's expectation for AI use in digital learning and to ensure the ethical and responsible AI practices in their entities. Also, we have set some guidelines for AI strategy, as it's considered to be as a comprehensive plan that outlines the entity's vision, goals, initiatives for AI implementation in their context. Also, it serves as a roadmap for entities' journey with AI and digital learning, providing them with a clear understanding of their aspiration, objectives, and the steps they are required to do to achieve their goals. And another sub-dimension here is governance, which focuses on the rules and responsibilities for the individuals who are managing and supervising the use of AI in the educational entities. And also, we believe that to get the advantage of the use of AI, entities need to have an implementation roadmap that sets the direction and aligns with the objectives of their use of AI in their context. Moreover, a continuous needs assessment is important to ensure that the entity is using AI in a way that improve their practice of teaching and learning. The second dimension is curriculum design and content development. As you all know, that there is a huge potential of AI in the content creation. So we have set some guidelines and standards that should be considered or kept in consideration when using AI in creating customizable learning materials to ensure that they meet the students' different or special needs. Also, guidelines for educators on how to get the best use of resource recommendation engines for having high quality learning materials, saving their time and efforts in searching and evaluating different resources. Another dimension here focuses on teaching and learning. We believe now that with the use of generative AI in creating lesson plans, tracking student performance, and also providing feedback for learners and also educators about the student performance, that is very important. Also, AI tools could be used for the administrative tasks that educators used to spend a lot of time doing. Instead, this can be done by AI, and the educator can focus now on the academic development of the students and how to meet the students' different needs. The fourth dimension is assessment and performance monitoring, which is about the process of collecting and analyzing data on student learning outcomes to identify the progress and area of improvement for the students. This can provide the educators and teachers with real-time view and data about the student progress and enable them to identify the weak points or the struggling learners and provide the needed support at the right time. Also, AI has a big potential when it comes to generating questions and grading students. So we have set some guidelines that direct the entities and educators as well on how to use AI for these purposes. A very important dimension here is ethics and responsible use of AI. And this topic has been trending lately, especially since the rise of generative AI. Everyone's concerned about the ethical consideration of using generative AI in general, whether it's in healthcare, marketing, entertainment, and obviously in education. So we introduced some guidelines on what entities need to consider or keep in consideration regarding fairness and safety, understandability, transparency, and explainability of AI to ensure the responsible use. Also, guidelines for entity as they should increase awareness and make sure that all their individuals are aware about the complexity of AI and any underlying data ethics and how to adopt processes that enables ethical decision-making, which involves all the related stakeholders. For the technology standards, security and data privacy dimension, this dimension was set to help the IT departments and the digital transformation in the entities who are concerned with the data security and the ethical foundations when using different AI tools and applications. So here we provided some guidelines related to IT standards, cross-platform compatibility, and of course, security and data privacy management. Another main dimension is student support. We believe that in order to have a complete integration of AI in education, students need to be equipped with the right skills and knowledge that enable them to understand the potential, both the potential and limitation of AI tools, and to be able to deal with them with the AI tools in an ethical and beneficial way. Likewise, we have set some guidelines for the professional development for educators, which is about equipping the educators with the right skills, and they need to implement in AI in education, in the educational context. Another recommendation here regarding the importance of engaging the educators in the community of practice. We all know that many teachers and educators have great practices out there, and maybe no one knows about it using AI in education. So it's good that teachers and educators engage with the community of practice to exchange knowledge, share their practices, and also share the challenges and obstacles they are facing when adopting AI in education. Lastly, we all know that this field is rapidly changing and improving. So we have provided some recommendations regarding the continuous or the importance of continuous evaluation of AI tools in the entities, and if using these tools still meet the entity and students' needs or not. Moreover, conducting a regular evaluation of the entities, policies, strategies, the practice, the application that have been done in their context in teaching and learning. And based on that, improve the practice of AI in their context. As I mentioned, the framework is published on our website. We would appreciate if you check the full version and provide us with any recommendation or feedback. Moving now to our second focus, which lies in crafting a policy regarding the utilization of generative AI within the educational context. This policy aims to benefit from global best practices related to the governance of the use of generative AI tools and applications. It is established to provide the most optimal solution or the ethical usage of generative AI in the digital learning environments within both public or private educational and training sectors and entities. The policy covers what learners, educators, administrators, and entities need to know to ensure the effective integration of generative AI into the educational context and try to maximize the benefit and minimize the risks of using AI through maintaining the academic integrity and ensuring data privacy and security and other points. The policy is on progress. Right now, we are having the initial draft, and it's going to be published soon as well. At the moment, we are collaborating with different entities and having different stakeholders involved to ensure that the policy is robust and meet their needs. Again, once the policy is published, your feedback matters. We will implement regular evaluation and gather feedback from all relevant entities and individuals as well, to ensure that the policy remains adaptive and responsive. I'll just come by the implementation side quickly at the National E-Learning Center. The center is currently experimenting with different AI tools and applications, including content development, also trying different AI tools to track student performance and learning analytics. This has been done internally by our teams in the center in order to address the current challenges and find ways to improve the educational practices. Finally, the center is keen to partner and collaborate with stakeholders, either local or global ethics agencies and other nations as well, to explore new applications of AI in education and advance the innovation in the educational practices. Through these strategic partnership and collaborative initiatives, the center envisions a future where AI enhances learning outcomes and enriches the educational experience on a global scale, hopefully. This is all for me. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attention. Our journey doesn't end here. We encourage you all to share always your insights and explore further collaboration with the center. Together, we can achieve great things, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fatma Al-Qahtani. That was a wonderful presentation. And I've always been actually quite impressed by how on top of the AI in education issue the National E-Learning Center is. So there are actually some people who asked for a PDF of the framework and how to connect into the resources that you shared. So maybe we can share them in the chat, or maybe people can just visit the National E-Learning Center and find those resources. We're going to go to a Q&A now. And this is going to be open to all of our panelists, as well as Zed, who introduced us at the beginning as well. So Zed, if you want to chime in on any of these questions, please do. But we're going to start off with one that is about, it came up often in the Q&A. So let me start by framing the question, and then I will pick one speaker to start answering the question, but any speaker can chime in on that question afterwards. So the question was about cheating and plagiarism, and there were multiple questions. Someone asked about how to minimize cheating and how to maximize academic integrity when students have access to these tools. Someone asked specifically about AI detection tools, and are they useful and should you use them? And then lastly, someone said, maybe we need to redefine plagiarism and cheating. Because if you're prompting a chatbot and you're reviewing the chatbot's output, why would that be considered cheating or plagiarism? So well, actually, Dr. Fatima, I'm going to put you on the spot. You just spoke, but so that means you're warm. Dr. Fatima, in any of the e-learning guidance so far, have you addressed the idea of AI detection tools or cheating or academic integrity?
Yes, we are now in the progress of crafting the policy, as I said. So the policy should include how students and learners should deal with generative AI tools in an academic and integrity and ensure the academic and integrity, as well as there's some controls for the educators and the entities to ensure that the students and learners are aware enough to use generative AI tools in a matter that teach them rather than just help them like in cheating or copying the answer as they are. So inshallah, it's coming in the policy to ensure that both educators and learners use the generative AI tools in the right way.
Thank you. And Patrick, this question of AI detection tools, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level and as a former teacher myself, I think you have to be really careful with these kinds of tools. I think they my personal viewpoint is that tools of this nature can kind of work against the overall objective that we're trying to achieve, which is AI literacy for all, and teach. And I think a key component, as we've touched on throughout the webinar here, is of AI literacy is responsible use of this technology. And what Pat was teaching about, like with any technology and any tool, it can be used for good purposes, or it can be used for ill or misused. And I think education obviously plays a critical role in helping young people who are going to be citizens participating in the economy and in the global citizenry, that they know how to use this impactful technology responsibly. So my concern with these tools is that they kind of help, not help, but they put more of a fear into students about using this tool rather than being transparent from an education perspective of here's the tool, here's what it can do, here's how it can be used, here's how it can be misused. Let's talk through that in an educational setting. Let's set expectations around that, and then let's adhere to those expectations. I'll add on to that also, just, Microsoft, we've seen some examples, and I think there's been examples in the media as well of these tools actually having an adverse effect from an equity perspective. At least in the US, I've seen examples where students who are English language learners have been accused of plagiarizing when in fact they have not. I think there's some concerns about the accuracy of these tools, never actually reaching 100% accuracy. So some of my personal beliefs infused in there, along with what Microsoft has been seeing.
Yeah, Dr. Imad, do you want to add any thoughts about cheating, plagiarism, the detection tools, and even how to minimize cheating?
Yes, in fact, I can see that there is a resolution for this problem. The first triangle solution. The first one is detection programs, and we have in RCQE touch programs for detecting searches which are presented to us. The second one is if it could be learned in educational institutions, whether schools or universities. If it's in general, should be controlling our behavior. The third one, and it is very important, is we have to rethink about we should not learn to have the certifications and the certifications as a paper, not not a paper for proving that this student has a certain competencies or skills.
Thanks, Dr. Imad. If you can hear us right now, I think your video is frozen. So, but those were great points. I'd like to add some thoughts as well about these tools. Patrick is right. These tools are not perfect by any means. Sorry, Dr. Imad, your video was frozen, so I moved on.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you for your insights. So I was sharing that even if these detection tools were 100% perfect, I still, as a teacher, wouldn't want to use them because it creates a dynamic where the teacher is like a police officer and the students are like criminals. And I would hate, even if the tools were perfect, I would hate to create that dynamic where they're trying to, you know, find new ways to get around the tool. And I'm using new and better tools. And it's like this constant race, you know, an elevation of a police state in the classroom. That's not learning. That's just not learning. So even if they were perfect, I wouldn't suggest using them. Now, I do understand the reality that teachers, as students, might be using them in improper ways. And I think, like Dr. Imad said and Dr. Fatima said, we need to have guidance and like really teach these kids how to use them properly, like Patrick said. And that's the solution, not using the tools. And if a teacher does use the tools, I know teachers out there might be using those tools. Just understand that you put yourself at risk as well, because if the tool is wrong and you accuse a kid of cheating, that really harms the student and harms your relationship with the student. You open yourself up to parents complaining and actually having good reason for complaining as well. So really be very careful about using those tools. I think that's a lesson here. There's another question about when we should introduce generative AI tools and at what age or what stage of students' learning should we even be introducing these tools? Now, there's two sides of this. There's the introducing of the tool, and there's the teaching about AI. When should we even start in the process, and how do we do that in an age-appropriate way? We're going to start off with Dr. Imad and hope that Dr. Imad's video stays solid. Dr. Imad, when would you suggest that teachers start talking about AI? Not maybe using the tools, just talking about AI with students. Oh, you're on mute, Dr. Imad. Or could someone unmute Dr.
If you could please unmute.
Thank you. Sorry. I think that teaching the AI or using permitting students to use the AI is critical and important and will be done someday. But we have to introduce it gradually. The first step is to keep the students not. If we concentrated on education as it was in the past, so they will use AI for cheating and so on. But if we change the philosophy of education to be concentrated on the new 21st century skills and competencies, such as creativity, innovation, critical thinking, problem solving, there will be another use of after presenting such competencies, we can introduce the AI. They will use the AI correctly and as a means, not an end in itself.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Imad. Zed, I want to bring you on. Zed, the question of when to introduce these tools and how to introduce these tools. Do you have any insights? Oh, Zed's figuring out the technical issues. Zed, we'll come back to you. But Patrick, when would you say we should start introducing the tools themselves? Let's start with that for you, Patrick. Like, you know, like Copilot.
I think it should be used in parallel because, as I said, that education cannot be in remote world outside of the real world. So if we use AI in real life, so it should be used in education. But how? I suppose that education presents the competencies for a new world of education or a new paradigm of education. And so they will use the tools, the AI tools, will be used for the correct purpose. I think so. يعني, it is problematic somehow, but we can consider about it. I think we cannot make education in a remote world. It is interaction with the real world. Real world has its AI in use, so it can be used in education, but in a way that could be creative, innovative, and suitable to a idea.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Imad. Patrick, when should we, you know, is there guidance on when to introduce like tools like Copilot in like an education sequence or like at an age level or a grade level or grade range?
I think, yeah, it's a good question, Pat. I think guidance is still kind of being thought through and crafted on specific age levels to introduce different tools. I'd say as it relates to the concepts of, you know, really just teaching students about AI and what it is. I see that as part of a foundational computer science education. And, you know, Microsoft and Code.org and others have been working for years on that particular issue of foundational computer science and equitable access and participation in that. And certainly see that as something that should start at the elementary ages, right, in terms of exposure and helping students feel included in computer science education, and with AI being a component of a foundational computer science education and responsible AI and AI literacy that we've been talking to. But that said, from a tools perspective, it really does vary depending on the tool. The tool Reading Coach that I mentioned is applicable in elementary school settings. It's helping students learn how to read, but it has very specific guardrails set in place where the user experience for the student, it's not like a Copilot where they're prompting in an empty box and the world is their oyster. It is very controlled, very safe, and very limited in terms of how the students can customize the reading content that's generated. So that very appropriate from our perspective at an elementary age level, whereas a Copilot, not as much. You need the literacy and supports and parental approval in certain instances for students to even be using these tools in the first place when it comes to more publicly available chatbots or tools like Copilot.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important that you know, agencies like the National E-Learning Center in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are providing those guidelines for like when tools like a Copilot should be introduced and what are those policies. So I would recommend teachers from all around the world, if you're listening to this, you have to check with your local and national policies. And if you're one of those local or national policymakers and you don't have those policies, you need to create those policies. And then lastly, I want to echo what Patrick said. Sometimes we overgeneralize questions about AI, like when should AI tools be used? Well, like Patrick noted, it depends on what the AI tool is. And if it's an open like chatbot, that's a very different thing than something like Microsoft's Reading Coach. So always keep that in mind as well. I'd like to actually share a slide that I use to talk about how and when to talk about AI, and it depends on and how to do it at different stages of development. And so, you know, so in the US, we use kindergarten to second grade, but this is basically early primary school. The thing to do at an early stage is to show that AI is not a real person. And so what the problem is when students think that AI is a real person or it's like human-like, they're not able to put its outputs into perspective and understand how to use it responsibly because they're looking at it from an incorrect lens, and that breeds lots of misconceptions about AI. So you want to show that AI is not a real person at that very, very early stage. And then, at upper elementary, you want to focus on problem solving, yes, but also even how to formulate problems, meaning how to state problems, how to understand problems before you even get to problem solving. And by the way, that idea of structuring problems is actually going to be more and more significant in an age of AI because we're going to have tools that do a lot of the problem-solving aspects for us, but we still need people who are able to structure the problems so that tools can be used appropriately. And then as you get into lower secondary, you need to focus on students' critical thinking skills, really evaluating everything and evaluating what tool to use, evaluating the output of the tools, evaluating everything. And then lastly, students at the highest levels can really get deep into how AI works and its limitations. And in fact, you can do some of that probably even at early stages as well. So those are just some ideas. And again, I shared this slide in my LinkedIn post that people had access to early on. Dr. Al-Qahtani, this issue of stages of development what do you think about like the youngest grades and their interactions with AI? And what do you does the e-learning center cover e-learning even at the earliest ages?
Yeah, so the National E-Learning Center is aiming the K-12 and the early education stages, and also is trying to set rules and policies for using generative AI as well for them. So I think generative AI tools can be introduced to them when they have the ability. I think it depends on the community awareness and how well they are prepared and introduced to generative AI tools. And when the students and K-12 segments has the ability to grasp the basic knowledge and concepts and ethical consideration of generative AI tools and AI tools in general, at this stage, I think they can understand and experiment with simple and generative AI tools under guidance, of course, and under the as you mentioned, the policies and the guidance by the country, and then explore more advanced applications, focusing on both, keeping in mind both technical aspects and ethical aspects as well and ethical impacts. So I think the early exposure for students ensure that they are well prepared to use these tools in a responsible way and in a creative way, and ensure that they're aligning with the entities' guidelines and policies as well.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to conclude here because we're running out of time and say that, with all this talk about AI and even young students, we always have to keep in mind that there are fundamental skills that students need to learn and need to do without any assistance of these AI tools, because the process of even learning these things helps kids develop that foundation by which they can actually use the tools maybe even better. But they still have to develop some level of foundation. And actually, it's a very exciting time in education to figure out what do we emphasize, but also what do we de-emphasize, and what do we change about how we teach, but also what we teach. So with that, I'm going to bring back Zaid Al-Raqib to close us out. Thank you on behalf of Patrick, Dr. Imad, Dr. Fatima. We were really excited to be here with you all today. Thank you for sticking with us. Zaid.
Thank you, Pat. Today's sessions stand as a testament to the power of shared knowledge and engagement, and we are profoundly thankful for your presence. We trust that the insights discussed provided value to each of you. Our gratitude extends to Pat Young-Bradett, whose moderation skills navigated us through this webinar discussion, and our esteemed panelists whose expertise significantly enriched our dialogue. Equally, the active participation of every attendee has been integral to the success of this discussion. As we close, we turn our focus to continual improvement and growth. A survey link has been provided in the chat section, and we invite you to share your feedback and suggestions. This input is crucial as we strive to elevate our content and ensure future sessions are even more impactful. In conclusion, your time and attention has been greatly appreciated. We eagerly anticipate your participation in future discussions where we will continue to explore exciting and relevant topics. For now, from all of us at the National E-Learning Center, I'm Zaid Rageb. Goodbye.